Hey everybody, so it's day 4 of quarantine and I'm having fun playing with my quadruple chin. Birthdays suck. Anyways, my neck is like a fat rolly caterpillar. I shaved this. I want to talk about um, basically how to keep your cool whenever you start to have a panic or anxiety. A lot of that's going around with coronavirus. People who are already normally triggered or easily triggered or have anxiety, panic attacks, that kind of stuff. Um, First of all, if you have anxiety or panic attacks, the best thing to do is get treated for it and see a doctor, especially if it's at the disorderly level. But at just the regular level, the people who typically don't have tremendous amounts of anxiety, but now are just on edge, or maybe you just get pushed over the edge sometimes because inevitably our bias is set much higher right now. Just some tips. So I've learned some management techniques and tips and tricks over the years. Um, I think I was taught these things maybe when I was a young teenager, as my parents were going through a divorce, and some of the resources they made available to me then. But for as long as I can remember, I've known these things, so I think that was probably the genesis of it. Anyways, um, the first thing is the most profound thing I think in all of this is to recognize that emotions and solutions never happen at the same time. And I'll say that again. So emotions and solutions, they do not happen simultaneously. Um, and so you think, well, there have been times where I got mad and I knocked something out, or I've acted in an emotional manner, or like, I won some sporting event or some game, etc. And it's like, well, those aren't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you have a problem with another person, caused by another person, or now you find yourself in the middle of some shit and it's upsetting. For all the time you're upset, the best solution will not materialize. Now you can make decisions, but I'm not saying that it's going to always be a good decision. Sometimes it works out, but about some arbitrary percentage, like 95% of the time, if we come to a decision while we're emotional, chances are good within 24 hours the subconscious will materialize what would have been a better option. And I'll get into that in just a minute. But that's the overall takeaway. Solutions and emotions never happen at the same time. At least not the best solutions, right? So, and I'm going to break down why this is. So, the reason this happens, and we've proven this, is whenever you go into what I call an amygdalal response, in other words, like the freeze, flight, or fight response, when your brain perceives something that could potentially be a threat, and even not necessarily a threat like what you would normally think, but just something that needs reacting to. It could be anything like, in the parking lot going to the store and somebody jumps out from a car and says, boo, which, obviously happens all the time. When somebody like startles you, for example. Anytime your amygdala comes online, your brain switches from a cognitive mode to a reactionary mode, right? Because there's a threat on the horizon, and this happens very quickly. Adrenaline is released. There's all sorts of endocrinatic responses that your body goes through to address the event and to respond. So you become responsive, right? And you become responsive to things in your immediate vicinity. And so when you become responsive, this is what the brain does. And this is why I say solutions and emotions never happen simultaneously. because when your brain goes into response mode, this has been proven. When you go into response mode, your brain's cognitive centers shut down. So you stop thinking. This is why you hear people say, now don't go doing something stupid, right? They say, you always do something stupid when you're mad. And you can also hear this with people who are disordered when they say something along the lines of, I always end up screwing things up. I get mad and I end up ruining relationships. It's like, well, that's why, because when you're mad, you haven't figured out that when you're angry, the proper decision-making parts of your brain literally shut down. And they have proven this. They've proven that when you're in a responsive mindset, we'll call it, your IQ can drop by up to 40 points. Now, if you don't know much about IQ, let me explain what that means. The average IQ is 100. Okay, that's the average. It's distributed on what's known as a bell curve. It's like this, looks like the first hill of a roller coaster, right? Well, it's shaped like a bell, hence the bell curve, right? So the smack middle is 100, right? And that's the average. Well, 99% of everybody will fall below the IQ of 135. So nearly everybody has an IQ of 135 or less. Very, very few have an IQ above that percentage, right? 135. Well, to say that your IQ can drop 40 points, here's the thing. The United States military has said that they cannot recruit anybody with an IQ below 88, because at the IQ of below 88, there is not a single job in the military that you could qualify to do. So if the military, which has a reputation for accepting anybody off the street, the military says they cannot recruit somebody with an IQ of 88 or below because they can't do anything. And if the average is 100, now think about this. It can send your IQ all the way down to 60, which is well below even the most extreme cases of special needs, right? So even if you're in that upper echelon of smart people, at 135, that can still take you to the levels beneath where the military has no use for you, right? So it's huge. It is absolutely huge. If you're of decent intelligence, it will absolutely make you stupid. This is why people get mad and they do stupid things. This is why you hear people say, don't do anything stupid. This is why you hear people say, hold my beer, which is the precursor to them doing something stupid. Why? Because they're not angry, but the whole here, hold my beer, they're in an elevated, excited state, and they have decided that they're going to respond, right? So it's any elevated state where the more you're focused on your environment, and remember this, the more attention you're donating to your environment and paying attention and interacting with it, the lower your decision-making abilities are going to be. So cognitive reasoning goes down while environmental processing goes up. Okay? So it's very important to understand. And that's why whenever you start to argue and you're in the throes of an argument, have you ever noticed that the longer you argue, the dumber it gets? You ever notice that? The longer two people are angry, arguing, it just starts to go off the rails. That's why. So this is why anytime you're in an elevated state of mind, that's not the time to be figuring out solutions. Not at all. So when is the time to figure out solutions? And the answer is easy: later, within 24 hours. And here's how it works. And this is the technique I use. And I learned this in engineering. They taught us this in the engineering college at Texas Tech University. And that's this. You focus intently on a problem or something that you want to solve or something you want to figure out, whatever it is that is irking you. Focus intently on it for about as long as you can. And then when your brain starts to get tired, drop it, and then just relax your mind and go do something else. One of the things I like to do to calm my mind is to organize things, and you can organize anything. The number is 30. The magic number is 30. 30 or more of something. So it can be 30 paper clips. It can be 30 M&Ms, 30 whatevers. I like to organize trail mix. So I'll take a bag of trail mix and I'll dump some out on the table or the desk or wherever I'm at. And then I organize it by ingredient, and I put the ingredients into columns. And then within each column, I sort them from largest to smallest or smallest to largest, depending on the state of the trail mix, right? But that's what I do to push it from my mind. And that's the goal, is you want some sort of easy, menial task. So whatever it is that you focused heavily on, you want to go from something of intense focus to something menial and trivial that requires little to just the smallest amount of logic, reasoning, and that kind of stuff, right? It will typically happen within 20 to 60 minutes, where you'll have your first idea pop up. And you'll notice this because that's the whole point of chilling out and doing something menial and something low key, because your day will not have suddenly gone in a different direction. See, if you focus intently on something and then you stop and then you focus intently on something else, well, then that new thing is going to take priority. So you want your mind to be quiet during this time, right? And so usually 20 to 60 minutes later, you'll have your first epiphany, and it'll hit you. You'll be like, ching. You'll find that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you'll be thinking about whatever that thing was again, and that's useful. And that's the first response. And so it's a good start. But then your brain will do this again when you sleep. Hence the anecdote of saying, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, sat up in bed in a cold sweat, and was like, oh, idea, right? That's what this is referring to. 3 o'clock is the witching hour for a number of reasons, but 3 o'clock in the morning seems to be a magic hour between 3 and 4 a.m. There's a whole lot of superstitions that go into it. There's a lot of science that goes into it, but 3 a.m. is the magic number. The majority of the time, when crazy shit happens at night, it's around 3 a.m. When you wake up in the middle of the night with your cold sweat epiphanies, it tends to be around 3 a.m. Anyways, I digress. So you will have thought about it. Your subconscious will process it for you in your sleep, and you'll wake up in the morning with a new understanding and new thoughts and ideas on it. And then by 24 hours, you will have come up with two or more potential solutions. By the time the 24-hour mark comes around, you will have come up with the best possible solution given your current base of knowledge. And so by that I mean is you're not going to get any better answer after 24 hours without introducing some new information to the problem. Now, once that new information is brought in, well, then you can start this process over. So lastly, and I want to leave you with this. Anytime you get angry or upset or reactionary or put on the spot, you don't have to solve it now. This does not need a solution right now. A solution can wait 24 hours. Just about every solution can wait for 24 hours. For every mistake, for every disaster, for everything that goes wrong in your life, there will always be two things. There will always be a path forward from it, and there will always be a solution, right? So anytime you get anxious or worried about what's going to happen, what am I going to do, how am I going to get through this, all the whats and the hows and the whys and everything that's eating your anxiety, you should know that you will have solutions within 24 hours. And there are very few things that cannot wait 24 hours. Very, very few things. So just remember that. You don't need to solve it now. You don't need to worry about it now. You will have at least 2 solutions and 2 paths forward within the next 24 hours. So you wait and you be patient, right? See, just because you want the solution now, you want the answer now, you won't get it. And if you do get a solution, or if you do get an answer, it's going to be a really shitty one because your IQ dropped to below a hammer, right? And if your IQ drops 40 points, there are bags of hammers smarter than that. So you don't want to do that. And you want to also recognize, and I do this to myself all the time, I don't want to make a decision right now because right now I'm stupid. I'm being dumb right now, right? Most of us can admit that. Most of us can acknowledge that, sorry. When we have a fight with somebody, we even do this, like, hey, I'm sorry about that. I don't know why that was kind of stupid of me, or you can tell that to somebody else. I don't know why. You were just being really dumb. That's why. When you're reactive, you're dumb. That's just human nature, and we all do that, okay? Like, that is something everybody does. And we know this because we tell our friends, again, don't do anything stupid. I don't think that's a good idea. That's really not what you want to do, right? Or the classic movie with the jock, the athlete, let me go, and his friends are holding him back, like, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Yeah, you're right. It's not worth it, right? It's just not. That's an example of reactions. Reactions are not worth it. So whatever it is you think you're going to do, it's typically not worth it. And even if it is, chances are good within 24 hours, there will be a better solution anyways. So just get in the habit of knowing this. You can wait till tomorrow. Most everything can. Most things in life can wait at least a day. Most things in a relationship can wait at least a day. Because here's the thing. If you wait a day, then your relationship will at least continue for one more day. How many of us have ended a relationship in an argument? I'm sure probably just about every one of us has had a relationship that ended in an argument, and we always ended up feeling bad or regretting it later, right? There you go. When you realize that your resolutions will come within 24 hours, then your relationship's not going to end right then and there. It might end tomorrow, right? You might wake up and think, you know what, it probably is for the best that this relationship come to an end. And then it can end on much better terms. Instead of exploding saying, fuck you, you piece of shit, right? That's how people do it, right? Anyways, that's about all I got. Thanks again for watching. Do please stay safe with the whole coronavirus out there. It is a silent but deadly killer, like a fart in church, except a 10-day long fart. And if one person smells it, then they start a 10-day fart. And for everybody that smells that, then they start farting for 10 days. That's kind of gross, but I'm kind of proud of that. Anyways, stay safe. Stay indoors. Wait for this whole thing to blow over. Like, comment, or share. Join the discussion on Facebook. I've got a group on Facebook. Yeah, the group's Narcissectomy, whatever. Narcissistectomy. I'll see y'all on the next video.